Hi, welcome back to Real Auto Reports. This is the real video, the real review of the 2013 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid. We are going to give you the details you want to know about this great hybrid sedan, and we'll give you some of those changes that you might have seen from previous Hyundai Sonata Hybrids. So let's jump in the driver's seat and get going and share with you all the fun things we know about this Hyundai. Hi, so welcome back. We are in the 2013 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, just as I mentioned in the opening. And you know, we think this is a pretty neat car to get to drive because the Hyundai Sonata has been around for a while. We saw its introduction at the 2009 LA Auto Show. And the previous Hyundai Sonata that a lot of people have tested, there was a lot of not disgruntledness, but disappointment in its transition from the electric to the gas motor. So now here we are in 2013, and they've made some changes to the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, and we want to see if those changes have really affected the way that this car drives. And I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised just from our real first impressions. So what is cool about this car for 2013? Well, first of all, this car has a great look, I think. I think that it has a great look because it is not a sedan that compromises this coupe-like four-door roofline to be a hybrid. And we have a comparison coming up with this and the 2013 Toyota Camry. And one of the things I think you'll notice about the two cars is that the Camry is a car that is a very typical four-door sedan. It's a car that you would expect to be from Toyota. It is luxurious, it's quiet, it's smooth, especially at the upper end that we had it. Now, this Sonata Hybrid is a little different. It is sportier in the way it drives. It's got a shiftable transmission, which the Camry doesn't, but I won't spoil all the comparison factors for you. But this car has 6-speed automatic gearbox. It has 199 total system horsepower, 4-cylinder, which I think is pretty cool because it has a decent feeling. It feels like it gives you direct power, and it feels like you can really move in this car. It's a car that I find corners nicely and has a good steering feel that lightens up when you're in parking lots to that kind of electric feeling, but out on the road gives you a nice road holding feeling. You've got your steering wheel controls and your technology and your comforts and conveniences. And I think really what's interesting about this car is that it's a car that you don't really think that you're in a hybrid. At least that's the great part about it, is that when you drive this car, if you didn't have the gauges, you wouldn't notice in 2013 that it really does switch from electric to gas to electric. And what's even more interesting about the 13 is that this vehicle will glide or use the electric power all the way up to 74 miles per hour. And that is pretty impressive because that means that what Hyundai has done is they've allowed you to have a car that will drive out on the freeway and still use that gas and electric power combined. And so sometimes it uses it only in EV mode, sometimes it uses it in conjunction, and in other times you're going to only have gas because of its need to recharge the battery. Now, I really think that Hyundai's done a nice job with this because the other thing we've seen for 2013 is that this vehicle has a 36 mile per gallon in city, a 40 mile per gallon out on the highway, giving it an EPA estimated 37 miles combined. Now, the thing that I do notice is that it's not going to be a rocket ship, but most hybrids aren't. Motor Trend actually tested this car and said that it does 0 to 60 in about 9.2 seconds. That was their estimate. And I think depending on where you live and hills and terrain and all of that, you may or may not see that 9-second mark, or maybe a little faster even. But the car doesn't feel slow. Like when you get on the gas, you get that direct power off the line that you expect from electric, and it really does seem to get up to speed quickly. Moreover, out on the freeway, it will cruise nicely, especially out here in the Rocky Mountain region where we have 75 mile an hour speed limits, especially out here near Real Auto Ranch where we are. We have the toll road that is 75 miles an hour, and this car will cruise at 75, 80 miles an hour out on that toll road with the hills and the valleys that you go through with no problem. The thing you'll notice about the Sonata, though, when you cross-compare it to other cars, is that I find that it is a little more live inside. I feel like the sound deadening is not quite as good as, especially compared to the Camry Hybrid. Now, when you compare it to its own cousin, the Optima Hybrid, you're probably not going to find as many differences, other than the look and feel will be very different. The Optima uses similar technology, but actually is a pretty different car, all things being equal. So if you're looking at the competition, you definitely want to look at this Hyundai Sonata Hybrid and then cross-shop it with things like the Toyota Camry Hybrid, the Kia Optima Hybrid. You want to cross-shop it with other vehicles like the Altima. And I mean, there's just a whole slew of cars you could look at. You could even look at the Chevrolet Malibu, and they have their own version of a hybrid type system. And where they don't actually sell it so much as a hybrid, but it is a gas-saving feature. So there's a lot to look at. But if you're looking for this pure hybrid experience, I think Hyundai has they've gotten it right in the sense that it's a younger looking car. It's got a much more aggressive design on the outside. And in some markets that may not be desirable. But for someone in this late 20 age group that I am, I find that this is quite a nice car to drive. And I quite like the unique look of it. And I also like this feature, this slide back roof with, see, it's just great. You get this full open view here, great wind, it's not too loud. Now out on the freeway you will notice that it does get a little bit noisy, and if you just roll the back sunroof down a little bit, well, I say sunroof, but if you roll the back windows down while you have that sunroof open, you will find that this vehicle gives you good airflow. It won't buffet you too much, and it's a great view when all you want is this, great exterior look here. I mean, and it tilts, it slides. It's not just a big piece of glass, and I really like it. Now, the control does take some getting used to, and I'm still struggling with it after about a week of driving this car. If you want to open it all the way from closed, you press back. If you want to open it, just open the roof, you kind of press up, but it may tilt the roof up. And then if you want to close just the roof, you have to pull down, and then it'll close because the roof was already closed, you saw it was closing the screen. It'll close the screen after you close the roof, but it'll stop at the roof first, and then it's kind of like a two-stage. Now, it does take some getting used to, because I'm so used to just pressing it and it closes, and I'm like, oh crap, I didn't want the shade closed, and then I have to open it and futz with it a little bit more. But I think once you get used to it, the nice thing is that this is a power roof and a power sunshade. And I think that is so much better than the Lexus that we tested, where those were manual, both front and back. So I think when you look at this Hyundai Sonata, you have a lot of great features: touchscreen, navigation, heated seats, dual climate control. I mean, there's a lot in this car for the price point too, and we should mention that, is that this is about $32,490. So think about $32,500 to get into this car in the Limited. That's the top of the line. And you've got two-tone interior. This is gray and black. You've got this nice kind of brushed look in the accent materials. It's probably just a plastic, but it gives this vehicle some richness to it. Now, there's not as much soft touch as I would like to see, but again, Hyundai's not going for the full luxury car experience. They're going for value for the money. And every time I talk about a Hyundai or a Kia, I think about that. I think about what is wrong with the car that I'm in. Well, nothing. It's got perforated leather seats, power seats on the driver's side, power seats on the passenger side, dual power, the power mirrors. It's got power windows, of course. You've got your steering wheel controls both for radio, cruise control, phone, and voice activation. And with the Blu Link, which, we don't talk a lot about the Blu Link in this car, but if we were to talk about the Blu Link, there are some cool features that you might want to know about, like you can set a boundary zone for the car. People who have kids will find this really useful. You can set a boundary zone, and when the car leaves that boundary zone, it'll alert you. There's also the feature of voice to text. So if you get a text, you can send a voice text back and it'll translate it for you. Kind of like you do probably on your Android or your iPhone. And I think those are some great features. It also has the SOS feature for emergencies. And I just think that Hyundai has put a lot of thought into what they're offering in this vehicle for the price point. And if you're looking at the difference in how these cars are set up and how they're used, I think the Hyundai is a car that is more subtle and less sports sedan than, say, the Optima Hybrid, but still more design and youth-oriented than, say, the Toyota Camry. And I think those are really the differences you notice, all the way down to the gauges. You have double round gauges here. Now, the information system in this Sonata is a little interesting. It has the energy flow, it has what they call an eco meter or eco level score, and you have your total eco score, average fuel economy, all of that. But really, their systems aren't as usable or user-friendly, I don't think, as the ones in the Toyota. And Toyota really was the pioneer in these hybrids. So I think Hyundai's, every generation, they're adding more features, more usability, and you can change the settings and the look and everything right here from the steering wheel. There's also no Evy Mode button, and that's something interesting. Now, I have to be honest though, some people may ding Hyundai for not having an EV mode button, but in the end, this car is great to drive. You can keep it in EV mode just by pressing your foot lightly, and it does have an eco mode, and that eco mode is going to be your Blu drive system. And that's right here, this button right here on the lower part of the wheel. And so when you turn it off, you're in non-eco mode, basically. They call it Blu. And so the Blu drive system is what helps regulate the throttle response and all of that so that you can drive more efficiently without really thinking about it. It's the same thing as the eco mode in the Camry. So a lot in here, a lot of stuff that you want to consider, and really cross-shop them. See how you like the space. See how you like the way that the view out of the car is. This is going to be a more coupe profile, and you're really going to notice it when you look around, because it's going to have more blind spots than some of the more sedan-styled, traditional, more boxy sedans. So keep those things in mind. Make sure you drive this in a lot of different scenarios. The other thing I notice about the Sonata Hybrid is that this vehicle, because the nose arches so much and slopes downward, you're going to have to get used to parking it. And it's a car that does not lend itself to easily knowing where the nose is right from the beginning. So those are really the high points. The other thing that the Sonata Hybrid owners are going to notice, if you had an older one that had the more rough, if you had the other one that had the more rough transition from the engine to electric and back, then what you're going to find is that in this one, it's going to be a lot smoother transition, but also you're going to find that you have less trunk space because of the size. They've changed how the hybrid system works and how it's laid out in the car. They've lowered the center of gravity. So you're going to want to take into account that this only really has about 12 cubic feet of trunk space, and that's a little over a foot less cubic foot than some of the other cars out on the market. So keep all of that in mind, and drive one. See what you think about it. I think that Hyundai has done a great job with this car, and I think that most people are going to find this car very, very serviceable, especially considering the price point for the Limited with all these fantastic features. Some just little nits, though, that I wanted to leave you with just to think about is, what do you use a hybrid for? And if you do like to travel out on the open road, one of the great things about this Hyundai Sonata Hybrid is the fact that it will let you drive out on the open road up to 74 miles an hour and still use the EV mode, meaning that you get that 40 mile per gallon out on the freeway, which is not bad. I think that is pretty cool. So make sure you check that out, and we'll have the real wrap-up next. This 2013 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid may sound like a mouthful, but this is a pretty cool car with great fuel economy from Hyundai at 36 in the city, 40 out on the highway, and we're seeing 37 as the EPA estimated combined rating. Not bad, considering that we will also have a comparison to the Toyota Camry Hybrid, one of its biggest competitors, coming up right here on Real Auto Reports. But some more things you need to know about this from our first impressions is that we like the look. It's got a sportier, younger look, a more coupe-like four-door, and it drives sportier than a lot of the other hybrids out on the market, at least in my opinion. I also think that this is a car that you're not going to cross-shop with too many other cars because it is a unique look. So you might decide that you love the Sonata and you want to take advantage of that extra MPG efficiency of the hybrid. At 199 combined horsepower, it'll also provide some fun driving experiences. I'm Jonathan McGrew. This is Real Auto Reports, and we'll see you down the road.